It is just before sunrise on a Sunday morning, January 14, 2018. A 911 dispatcher in Perris, California, answers a call. The voice on the other end is tiny. It sounds like a child, maybe 10 or 11 years old. She is shaking. She is terrified. 911, what is your emergency? I just ran away from home, the girl whispers, and we have abusing parents. The dispatcher starts asking standard questions. Okay, sweetie, what is your address? The girl pauses. I don't know, she says. I've never been out, I don't go out much. Do you know what city you are in? I don't know. Do you know your cross streets? I don't know what a cross street is. The dispatcher is confused. Is this a prank? Is this a lost child? But then the girl says something that chills the blood. I have 12 brothers and sisters. We live in filth, and my 2 little sisters are chained up to their beds right now. The dispatcher realizes this isn't a prank. This is a cry for help from a world that shouldn't exist. The girl on the phone isn't 10 years old. She is 17. Her name is Jordan Turpin, and she has just escaped from a suburban house of horrors, where she and her siblings have been held captive, starved, and tortured for their entire lives. She is standing on the side of the road, holding a deactivated cell phone, looking at a world she doesn't understand, a world of sidewalks, stop signs, and freedom, trying to save her family before the sun comes up. This is the incredible true story of Jordan Turpin. It is the story of a girl who watched Justin Bieber videos in secret to learn about the outside world. It is the story of a girl who overcame 17 years of conditioning to jump out of a window and become a hero. If you believe that courage can bloom in the darkest of places, please hit that subscribe ** button right now. You need to hear this story because Jordan Turpin didn't just save herself. She saved an entire generation of her family. To understand the escape, we have to look at the prison. The Turpin family lived in a nice house in a nice neighborhood. They had cars in the driveway. They had grass on the lawn. To the neighbors, they were just a private, religious family. But inside, time had stopped. David and Louise Turpin had created a cult of 2. They had 13 children, ranging in age from 2 to 29. But looking at them, you would never guess their ages. They were all tiny, pale, and frail. The parents had engineered a bizarre, vampiric lifestyle. The children were forced to sleep all day and be awake all night. This was to prevent neighbors from seeing them through the windows. They were fed once a day, usually a peanut butter sandwich. They were allowed to shower once a year. They were never allowed to go outside. Education, non-existent. Medical care, non-existent. Socialization, 0. They didn't know what a policeman was. They didn't know what medication was. They didn't know what a sidewalk was. They existed in a bubble of filth and fear. The abuse wasn't just neglect, it was active torture. If the children misbehaved, which could mean washing their hands above the wrist, they were punished. David and Louise would tie them up. At first they used ropes, but the kids learned to untie the ropes. So the parents upgraded to chains. Heavy metal chains and padlocks. They would chain the children to their beds for weeks or months at a time. They weren't allowed to use the bathroom. They had to soil themselves in the bed. The smell in the house was overwhelming, a mix of rotting garbage, human waste, and mold. And yet, if the police ever knocked on the door, which they rarely did, the parents would hide the chains, spray air freshener, and present a smiling front. But Jordan Turpin was different. She was the rebel. She had found a secret window to the world. Someone had left an old smartphone in the house. It didn't have service, but it could connect to Wi-Fi. Jordan would sneak onto YouTube. She watched music videos. She watched Justin Bieber. She saw people dancing. She saw people laughing. She saw people eating food. She realized, this isn't how the world is supposed to be. This isn't normal. In 2016, the family moved to Perris, California. The abuse got worse. Jordan realized that her younger siblings were suffering. Some were chained up so tight their skin was raw. She knew she had to do something. But she was terrified. She had been told her whole life that the police were bad. She was told that if she left, she would die. She was told that the outside world was full of demons. But Jordan looked at her little sisters. She decided she would rather face the demons outside than let her sisters die inside. She spent *2 years planning her escape. She studied the layout of the house. She studied the schedule of her parents. She knew they slept during the day. On January 14, 2018, she heard her parents talking. They were planning to move the family to Oklahoma. Jordan knew that if they moved, she might never get another chance. The chains would get tighter. The walls would get thicker. It was now or never. It was early morning. Jordan signaled to her older sister, Jennifer. "We have to go." Jennifer was scared. She backed out at the last second. Jordan was alone. She grabbed the old, deactivated Motorola cell phone. She knew that even a deactivated phone can call 911. She climbed out of a window. She hit the ground. Her heart was pounding so hard, she thought it would explode. She expected alarms. She expected her father to come running with a gun. But there was only silence. She ran. She didn't run to a neighbor. She didn't know them. She ran down the middle of the street because she didn't know what a sidewalk was for. She walked for blocks. She tried to calm her breathing. She looked down at the phone. Her fingers, trembling, dialed 911. The recording of the call is heartbreaking. "I just ran away from home," she says. "Okay," the dispatcher says. "Are you injured?" "No, but my sisters are chained up." The dispatcher, to his credit, stayed calm. He kept her talking. He asked her to describe the chains. Jordan described them in detail. "They are metal, they are locked." He asked her if there were guns in the house. "I don't know what a gun looks like," she said, "but my dad has things that shoot." The most telling moment was when the dispatcher asked if she took any medication. "What is medication?" Jordan asked. She didn't know the word. She was 17 years old, but she had the vocabulary of a 5-year-old because she had been kept in a dark room her whole life. The police used GPS to locate her phone. A deputy arrived. He saw a tiny girl. He thought she was a runaway child. When she told him she was 17, he was shocked. She was so malnourished she looked 10. She showed him photos. She had been smart enough to take pictures of her sisters chained to the bed before she left. She showed the deputy the phone. He looked at the photo, and his face changed. He realized this wasn't a story. This was a crime scene. The police went to the house. They knocked on the door. Louise Turpin answered. She looked annoyed. "We are here for a welfare check," the officers said. Louise and David acted confused. "Everything is fine here," they said. The officers insisted on coming in. As soon as they stepped inside, the smell hit them. It was the smell of death and decay. They walked through the house. In a dark bedroom, they found them. A 22-year-old son, chained to a bed. Two other sisters chained. The other children were hiding in corners, pale, terrified, shaking. They were covered in dirt. They hadn't bathed in months. The 29-year-old daughter weighed only 82 pounds. The police arrested David and Louise Turpin on the spot. As they were being led away in handcuffs, Louise looked perplexed. She couldn't understand why the police were upset. She was living in a delusion so deep she thought chaining her children was normal parenting. The 13 siblings were taken to the hospital. For the first time in their lives, they were free. But freedom was overwhelming. The nurses gave them food. They ate it ravenously. They had never tasted fresh fruit. They had never seen a toothbrush. They had never watched a TV show. They were like aliens landing on a new planet. But they had each other. The hospital staff said the siblings were incredibly protective of each other. They held hands. They comforted the little ones. Jordan was the hero. Her brothers and sisters looked at her with awe. She was the one who jumped. She was the one who made the call. David and Louise Turpin pleaded guilty to 14 felony counts, including torture and false imprisonment. In 2019, they faced their children in court. It was an emotional day. Some of the children chose to speak. One son said, "I cannot describe in words what we went through growing up. Sometimes I still have nightmares of things that happened, such as my siblings being chained up or beaten. But that is the past and this is now." Another daughter said, "My parents took my whole life from me, but now I am taking my life back." The judge sentenced David and Louise to 25 years to life. They will likely die in prison. The judge told them, "Selfish, cruel, and inhuman. You severed their ability to interact with the world. You denied them the right to be human." Jordan Turpin is now in her 20s. She is building a life. She is on TikTok. She has millions of followers. She posts videos of herself dancing, modeling, and laughing. She finally got to meet Justin Bieber. But it hasn't been easy. After the rescue, the system failed them again. Some of the siblings were placed in foster homes where they were abused again. It is a tragic reminder that the system is broken. But Jordan has become an advocate. She speaks out for foster care reform. She speaks out for victims of abuse. She is no longer the girl who doesn't know her address. She knows exactly who she is. She is a survivor. She is a warrior. She is a sister. The Jordan Turpin story is the ultimate example of courage over conditioning. She was conditioned for 17 years to believe she was worthless. She was conditioned to believe there was no way out. But she broke that conditioning with nothing but a deactivated phone and a dream. It teaches us that curiosity is dangerous to tyrants. David and Louise tried to keep them ignorant. But Jordan's curiosity, watching those videos, wondering about the world, was the spark that burned their house of horrors to the ground. It reminds us to look closer. The neighbors saw the van, they saw the grass, they thought everything was fine. But evil often hides in plain sight, disguised as a boring suburban family. Jordan Turpin saved 13 lives that day. She walked out of the darkness and into the light, and she dragged her entire family with her. She proved that you don't need muscles to be strong. You don't need a weapon to be a fighter. Sometimes, all you need is the bravery to open a window and jump. This story is incredible, but also infuriating. The fact that this went on for 17 years without anyone noticing is terrifying. Do you think neighbors and schools need to be more vigilant? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you are inspired by Jordan's incredible bravery, please hit that asterisk button. Let's show her some love. And subscribe asterisk. I have a story coming next week about a man who survived a serial killer by convincing him to order a pizza. Stay safe, be curious, and never let anyone lock your mind.